Nigeria shall be blessed. Thank you. You may please be seated. Once again, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Secretary to the Bayelsa State Government, Professor Nimbofa Ayawe, and the Special Advisor on Security Matters too, who is seated here. Mr. Awokea, thank you so much, sir, for being here. Also, the Honorable Commissioner for Health is just joining us. Another professor, Sefa Brisibe. We have professors in the State Executive Council. We also have seated Professor Igbogidi. He is also on the entourage of the Secretary to State Government. Please put your hands together for them all. Thank you. The President of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Alhaji Al-Hassan Yaya. Please a round of applause for him again. The Deputy National President, who gave us so much to think about. She was one of our panelists yesterday, Dr. Mbimbola Oyetunde. Please show her some love. The Vice President, Zone F, Opaka Dokobo. Please a round of applause for him. Thank you. The Zonal Secretary, Zone F, John Angese. The National Trustee of the Nigeria Association of Women Journalists, Timnepre Idoko. Please a round of applause for her. Thank you. The Vice President of NAWOJ Zone F, Stella Macaulay. Please a round of applause. You're welcome, ma'am. And moving to the State Chairman of the NUJ, I'll start with ours. The Bayelsa State Chairman of NUJ, Tony Yemolea. Please a round of applause for him. And the 002 is seated here. We'll call him the News Marshal. Please put your hands together for him too. You're welcome. The Chairman, Akwa Ibom State Chapter of the NUJ, Amos Etuk. Please a round of applause for him. Miss Yeresa. Also seated here is the Chairman, Delta Council, Churchill Oyowe. Please a round of applause. The Chairman, Rivers Council, Paul Basia. Please a round of applause. We'll also like to recognize various unions and affiliates here. Friends of the NUJ, Nawojian seated. Please a round of applause for yourselves. We'd like to recognize, seated here, the representative of one of our resource persons, Professor Bakles Ayakuruma. He's represented by Dr. Tam Gordon Azobo, Associate Professor of Theater and Cultural Administration. Please put your hands together for him. We also have here Honorable Ineye Benawari, Federal Commissioner, Public Complaints Commission. Please a round of applause for her. Thank you, ma'am, for being here. Other invited guests, thank you so much for being here. From yesterday till today, you have had two compares, ABRV and myself, Taribio Walson Owefawari, and he will be joining me in the course of today's event. Before we move to the items slated for today, I would like to briefly take a recap of the proceedings of yesterday. Please, a moment. Yesterday, which marked day one of the Bayelsa Media Summit, saw us starting with the national and state anthems and opening prayers. And we immediately moved to the welcome remarks by the state chairman of the NUJ, and that was quickly followed by the remarks by the president of the NUJ. We had performance from the cultural troupe here, and the children actually gave us their best. And that segued into the address by the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Orientation with brief presentation, the keynote address with our keynote speaker was enlightening and engaging, and that saw us moving to the paper presentations. But before then, His Excellency, the Deputy Governor, who represented the Governor of Bayelsa State, made his remarks and formally unveiled the NUJ newsletter. And while he was making his remarks, he made some recommendations, one of which is that the newsletter should be renamed using an Ijaw name. And I believe the chairman and executive took note of that recommendation from the Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State. And the first paper presentation we had was from Dr. Beauty Okuboere Niekbemi on blue economy harnessing the socio-economic potentials in Bayelsa State. And she gave us the assets and areas that need improvement when it comes to our economy. The second paper presentation, which was supposed to be for today, was moved to yesterday with the acknowledging the fact that the first paper presentation speaker was unavoidably absent, but thankfully he is here to speak today. And so we took ethical reporting, reorienting the Bayelsa journalists, and that was done by Professor Muyiwa Popola, and he gave us an eye-opening session how reportage can either bring peace or panic in a society and the environment. And so we had a panel discussion looking at the paper presentations and the keynote address, and that was jointly done by a retired permanent secretary and ace public speaker and journalist, that's Chief Freston Akbo, and the Deputy National President, Dr. Abimbola Oyetunde. Please let's appreciate them again. Because the panel session was not initially penned down in the program, but on short notice they delivered and gave us what we needed to hear yesterday. And so today we'll start with the paper presentations, but before we do that, I have 10 minutes documentary that we'll need to play, so please all attention should be on the screen. Can we have that documentary please before the paper presentation?
By Saturday, October 1, 2025, it will be 29 years since Bayelsa State was created. The much anticipated announcement of the creation of Bayelsa State was made by the then military head of state, General Sani Abacha, alongside 5 others, Ebonyi, Ekiti, Gombe, Nasarawa and Zamfara states, in a nationwide broadcast marking Nigeria's 36th independence anniversary on Tuesday, October 1, 1996.
The eve of October 1st, 1996, I couldn't sleep that night. So the following morning, as early as 7, we gathered before the television, and the first state to be announced was Bayelsa State.
We were in our various homes when the announcement was made. And as soon as Bayelsa State was announced as one of the states, new states created, everybody jumped up from wherever he or she was.
From the streets of Port Harcourt to YENAGOA, to the creeks Imbras, Nembe, Ekeremo, and Southern Ijaw, it was a moment of wild jubilation and celebration for a people who had long yearned for a state of their own, a homogeneous all-Ijaw state. As the sporadic celebration and excitement that heralded the news of the creation of the state ebbed like the turbulent sea at its calm moment, Bayelsa people came face to face with the stark reality of underdevelopment and impoverishment. Bayelsa was, and is still, the proverbial goose that laid the golden egg, but was abandoned by the powers at the center, and now began a journey on the new path of self-realization. Yes, the land of Bayelsa was rich in gas and oil reserves, but the huge resources generated seems forbidden for the development of the state. The land was and is still able, but oil spills have poisoned the soil and damaged the marine life. There were also great potentials in tourism and blue economy, but the powers that be at the center were only interested in milking the oil and remitting little or nothing for the development of the state. The state capital, YENAGOA, was rural in every sense of the word. One narrow road, dilapidated schools, hospital, and general absence of basic amenities were the lot of the now bubbling city. This could be said of the entire state. The Herculean burden of development, therefore, became a reality to be shouldered and tackled headlong by the subsequent administrators, leaders, and people of the state. From creation to date, Bayelsa has been governed by 4 military administrators and 5 governors. These leaders and their team have all in their own way expanded the frontiers of development and propelled governance towards the realization of the dreams of the founding fathers of the state.
When we look at what was on at that time, now see us. We can drive anywhere, go anywhere. Is that not development? Looking back, I say that we should celebrate because we have moved from nothing else, nothing, and we have moved to this level that we are. Somebody that is just coming in will feel that nothing has happened, but for those of us who were here, a great change has taken place.
This state has come a long way. It was one single road that was there in YENAGOA leading to the water side. Roads are being built in an attempt to reach the local government headquarters in the riverine area, so that we can hit the ocean.
Every Bayelsan must be happy that we have our own state. If we had stayed in River State, this portion of land would not have developed as much as this. Certainly would not have developed as much as this.
Currently, Bayelsa State is under the watch of an Ijaw activist cum visionary, His Excellency, Senator Doyediri, whose 5 years in office could better be described as a warm renaissance for Bayelsa State. With his administration's assured prosperity agenda, a new standard is being set to put the state on the fast lane of development. The governor is apparently interested more in development than politics. He has continued to demonstrate a single-minded focus on enduring and legacy projects. At inception, one very noticeable challenge was the absence of a road network connecting YENAGOA to the nearest communities. But today, not only are these communities connected to the state capital by road, all senatorial districts are now being connected to YENAGOA, the capital city, by road. The city of YENAGOA is also witnessing series of road infrastructure, and an unannounced ring road is in the works. With the urban renewal program and massive infrastructural projects in the state, the face of Bayelsa is changing and a new Bayelsa is emerging. It is the belief of the people of the state that at the end of Governor Doyediri's tenure, Bayelsa would be on the path of irrevocable development. However, the narrative in the media space has not done justice to the ongoing infrastructural revolution in the state. The narrative seems to be from passers-by. It is our expectation that at the end of this summit, the media narrative will generously accommodate and view our world from our perspective, while taking into account the challenges that are on the way of our redoubled efforts at developing the land and people of Bayelsa State, the glory of all lands.
The story of Bayelsa State, from a one-horse town to a thriving state, especially the capital. While we're not where we want to be, we're definitely
By Saturday,
not where
October 1,
we used to be.
2025,
Thank
it will be
you.
29 years.
Distinguished
since
ladies and
Bayelsa State
gentlemen,
was
before we
created.
move to our first presentation, permit me to recognize the former
The
chairman
much anticipated
of the
announcement
NUJ
of the
and
creation
a
of Bayelsa
retired
State
director in the Ministry of
made by the
Information,
then
Mr.
military head of
Seifa
state,
Ozaka. Please
General
put your hands
Sani
together
Abacha,
for him. Thank you,
alongside
sir, for
5
being
others,
here.
Ebonyi,
We have so
Ekiti,
many of them who are
Gombe,
still impacting the
Nasarawa,
younger
and Zamfara
generation.
states.
You can
In a
see I said
nationwide
retired, but
broadcast
he definitely
marking
does not
Nigeria's
look
36th
tired.
independence
Thank you, sir,
anniversary
for being here.
on Tuesday,
Okay,
October
before
1,
I invite our next
1996.
speaker, you know, for every good venture, it
October
must be
1st,
sponsored
1996.
and backed by finances. It is good to have a good
So the following
idea,
morning,
or if you do
early
not
as
have
7,
the funds and the
we gathered
resources
before
to
the
push that idea,
first
it
stage
might
to be
remain
announced
at the teething
was
or the conception stage.
in
And
our
one of
various
such
homes
good
when the
ideas
announcement
is the journal
And as soon
that
as
we're
Bayelsa
having. That's the
State was
newsletter.
announced as
But then while the newsletter is good and will be propagating some of the jobs that government is doing and
From the
also
streets of
enlightening the
Port Harcourt to
public,
YENAGOA,
it
to
will
the
need
creeks
funds
in
to be
Bras,
produced,
Nembe,
and that
Ekeremo,
is why
and
it was
Southern
launched
Ijaw.
yesterday.
It was a moment
Now,
of
while the
wild
SSG might have thought that he
jubilation and
escaped
celebration
that particular action
for
by
people
being in
who
Abuja,
have long yearned
but by
for a
showing
free
this
and
morning, you have subjected
homogeneous
yourself to
all-Ijaw state.
launching it today. There
As
is nothing
this
like
public
late
celebration
launching.
and
Launching is
excitement
launching.
that
So
heralded
by
the news
appearing
of the
today,
creation
sir,
of
you have
state
subscribed
like the
to
turbulent sea
launching
calm
the
breeze.
newsletter. So
Bayelsa
immediately
people
after
came
I take your
face to
citation,
face
sir, before
with
you start your
patriarchal
presentation, it would be
underdevelopment
good to
and
put the
impoverished.
journalist in a very good frame of
Bayelsa
mind
was,
by saying
and is
something
still,
about the
proverbial
newsletter.
ghost that laid the
Those in
doormat
favor say aye.
for
Those against, I will slap
at
you.
the center, and now began a journey
If they are here, they will chop slap.
of
I will
self-realization.
just bring back 3 years ago and Bianca
Yes,
them.
the land of Bayelsa was
Distinguished
rich in
ladies
gas
and gentlemen,
oil
please
reserves,
to the
resources
stage, the
generated
Secretary to
since
State
the
Government, Professor
development
Nimbofa
of the state.
Ayawe.
The land was and is still able, but oil spills have poisoned the soil and damaged the marine life.
Don't worry, this is a good
There
ambush.
were
It's not a
also
coup
great
d'etat
potentials
like the one in
tourism
Burkina
and
Faso.
blue economy. But the powers that be at the center were only interested in milking the oil. and
There's
limiting
one. It's
little
currently
or
military
nothing
rule
for
in
the
Burkina
development
Faso.
of the state.
Yeah, that's
The
Tauri.
state capital,
So we'll
YENAGOA,
need you to
was
stand
rural
at the
in
middle
every sense of the word.
while I
One
take your
narrow road,
citation.
The
Even the
dilapidated
citation will
schools,
cost you money, sir.
hospital, and general
Add it to
absence
the
of basic
newsletter, sir.
amenities were the lot of the now bubbling
Professor
city.
Nimbofa Ayawe is the current
This could be
secretary
said
to
of the
Bayelsa State
entire
Government, a position he attained in
Herculean
March
burden of
2024 on the premises of
therefore,
hard work,
became a reality
diligence,
to
and
be
commitment to the
shouldered and
ideals of
tackled headlong
professionalism,
by the subsequent
integrity, and
administrators,
unbridled
leaders,
service
and
to
people of the
humanity.
state.
Born into the
From creation
families
to date,
of Chief J.E.
Bayelsa
Ayawe and
has been
Madam
governed
Flora
by
E.
4
Ayawe
military
of Kolama
administrators
2
and
in
5
Southern Niger
governors.
local government area of
These
Bayelsa
leaders
State.
and their team have
Infantile
all in
years
their
of
own
Professor
way
Ayawe
expanded
tell an
the
interesting
frontiers of
story
development
of grits,
and propelled
toils,
governance
and
towards the
perseverance
realization
as he
of the dream
navigated
of the
the
founding
rustic
fathers of the
village
state.
terrain of Kolama
When we
2
look at what
to become
was
a
on
man
at that
after
time,
his
now
aspirations.
see us.
Up until his elevation to the position of secretary to the state government, Professor Ayawe was the executive chairman of the Bayelsa State Board of Internal Revenue from 2016 till 2021. He was reappointed for a second term, having demonstrated enormous capacity in making key structural adjustments and tax reforms in the board. This led to the improvement of the state's internally generated revenue, which
state has come
continued
a long way.
progressively from
It was
2016
one
to
single road
date.
that was there.
Professor Ayawe's professional
Yenagoa,
work in career kicked
leading
off
to
at
the
the
water
Bayelsa
side.
State Minister of Environment
Roads are being
as a
built
scientific officer
in an
until his
attempt to
appointment
reach
as
the
member of the
local
Bayelsa
government
State
headquarters
Scholarship
in the
Board in
riverine area.
2001 during
so
Chief
that we can
DSP
hit
Alamesia's
the ocean.
administration.
Every Bayelsa
In the year 2002, he was appointed chairman by Sankolama Rural Development
If we
Authority.
had stayed in
In
Rivers
2003, he
State,
was
this
elected to
portion
represent the
land
people
would
of
not have
Southern Niger
developed
Constituency
as
4
much
in the
as
Bayelsa
this.
State
Certainly
House of
would not have
Assembly.
developed as much as
His vast experience in lawmaking
Currently,
and effective
Bayelsa State is
representation
under
paid
the
off
watch
as he was
of an
later
Ijaw
appointed
activist
General
conviction.
Manager, Chief Executive
His
Officer of the
Excellency,
Bayelsa
Senator
State
Joe
Housing
Yedo,
and Property
whose
Development
5 years in
Authority
office
in
could better be
2012,
described
and
as
finally became a key
warm
member
renaissance
of the State
for Bayelsa
Executive
State.
Council, where he is appointed as
administration's
Honorable
assured
Commissioner for
prosperity
Housing and Rural
agenda,
Development in
A
2014.
new standard is
He
being set
is a
to put
thoroughbred,
the state on the
analytical, and
fast-lane
environmental
development.
chemist by profession.
The governor is
By
apparently
professional
interested
training,
more
a
in
career that
development
kicked
than
off as an
politics.
undergraduate at the
He
then
has
River
continued
State
to
College of
demonstrate
Education,
a
Port Harcourt,
single-minded
an
focus
affiliate of the
on
University of
enjoying
Ibadan, where
a
he
legacy
bagged a
project.
Bachelor of Education
At
degree in
inception,
chemistry in
One very
1995.
noticeable challenge
Because
was
of
the
his
absence of a
unquenchable
built
taste
network
for education,
connecting
he had his
Yenagoa
graduate
to the nearest
training at the
community.
University of Port Harcourt, to where he bagged a Master of
only are
Science
these
degree,
communities connected to the
MSc,
state
in
capital by
analytical
road,
chemistry in
all
2008.
senatorial districts
He later
are now
obtained a
being
Doctor of
connected to
Philosophy
Yenagoa,
degree in
the capital
Analytical
city by
Environmental
road.
Chemistry at
The
the Niger
city of
Delta
Yenagoa
University
is also
as the
witnessing a
first
series of
PhD
road
graduate
infrastructure,
of the university
and
in
an unannounced
2015.
ring road is in
He
the
took up
works.
appointment as a lecturer
With the
in the
urban
Department
renewal
of Chemical
program
Sciences,
and
Niger
massive
Delta
infrastructural
University,
projects in the
Amasoma, in
state,
2016.
The face
He is currently
of
a
Bayelsa
professor of
is
analytical
changing,
chemistry
and a new
in the
Bayelsa
Department
is
of Chemistry, Bayelsa
It
State
is the
Medical
belief of the
University.
people of the state
Professor Ayawe
that
is a
at the
profound
end of
researcher
President
and a
Oyede's
writer,
tenure,
an accomplished
Bayelsa
academic,
would be on the
a
path of
grassroots
irrevocable
politician,
development.
and a pragmatic
However,
administrator.
the narrative
He has more
of
than
their
70
states
scholarly
has not done
articles in
justice
more than
to the
35
ongoing infrastructural
reputable
revolution in the
international
state.
and national
The
journals
narrative
to
seems
his
to be
credit.
from
He is
passers-by.
one of the most cited
is our
authors in
expectation
Nigeria
that
as a
at the
result of the
end of this
depth
summit,
and
the
quality
media
of his
narrative
works.
will
Most of his
generously
articles are
accommodate and view
scopus
our world
indexed.
from
He
our
is a fellow
perspective,
of the Institute of
while
Chartered
taking into
Chemists of
account
Nigeria,
the
FICON,
challenges
fellow
that
of the
are on
Chemical
way
Society
our
of Nigeria,
redoubled efforts at
FCSM,
developing the land
associate
and
of the
people
Chartered
Bayelsa
Institute
State,
of Taxation of
the glory
Nigeria,
of
ASTON,
all lands.
and the member of the West African Society for Pharmacology, WASP. Professor Ayawe is a consummate teacher and family man with a penchant for the development of society. He is happily married with loving children. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you an iconic and legendary
Saturday,
personality,
October 1,
a most
2025,
courageous man,
it will be
philanthropic,
29 years
diligent and
since Bayelsa
cautious
State was
politician,
created.
a resourceful academic, a goal-getter, and an astute administrator,
The much-anticipated
and
announcement
one of
of the
our
creation
key
of Bayelsa
donors
State
for the
was
newsletter,
made by the then
Professor
military head of state,
Nimbofa
General Sani
Ayawe.
Abacha, alongside 5 others, Ebonyi, Ekiti, Gombe, Nasarawa, and Zamfara states,
I
in a
think
nationwide broadcast
she's trying to
marking
deliberately work on
Nigeria's
me.
36th independence
And,
anniversary on Tuesday,
she has succeeded
October 1,
anyway.
1996.
The eve of October 1st, 1996,
I think
I
I
couldn't
will
sleep
do
that
some
night.
lunch.
So the following morning,
I'm going
as
to
early
give
as 7,
1.5
we gathered
million.
before the television. And the first state to be announced was Bayelsa State.
I'm sure this is a good
Various
beginning.
homes when they are-
All right, let's go.
And as soon as Bayelsa State was announced as
The Honorable Commissioner
one of the
for
new states
Health,
created, everybody jumped up
Professor
wherever she was.
Saif
From
Abrizide,
the streets of Port Harcourt to Yenagoa,
Special
to the
Advisors,
creeks
top
in
government
Bras,
functionaries,
Nembe, Ekeremo,
the
and
National
Southern
President,
Ijaw.
NUJ, and
It was
members
a
of the
moment
National
of
and State
wild
Escorts here
jubilation and
present,
celebration for the
members of
people
the
who had
Union
long
here
yearned for a
present,
state of their own, homogeneous,
participants, invited guests,
all-Ijaw state.
ladies and gentlemen.
As the sporadic celebration
For those
and
of us
excitement
visiting
that
Bayelsa for
heralded
the first time,
news of the creation of the state ebbed like
let
the
me give you a
turbulent
little
sea
history
at its
of
calm moment.
Bayelsa, the geography of
Bayelsa
Bayelsa.
people came face to face
Oh,
with the stark
my
reality
honorable
of underdevelopment
member,
and
please,
impoverishment.
my apologies, I don't want to be
Bayelsa
invited.
was,
You're welcome.
and is still the proverbial goose that laid the golden egg.
Bayelsa is
But was
actually
abandoned
seated
by the
at the
part at
very
the center.
southernmost
And now began a journey
part of
on
Nigeria.
the new path of self-realization.
And as you would know, every
Yes,
single here
the land of Bayelsa
will
was
grapple
rich in
with
gas and oil reserves, but the
floods.
huge resources generated seems forbidden
Every
for the
single
development
rain,
of the state.
every
The
single
land was,
water,
and is still able, but oil spills have poisoned the soil and damaged the marine life. There were also great potentials in tourism and blue economy, but the powers that be at the center were only in
every single water, every rain empties into the Atlantic via Bayelsa. Right from the Futa Jalon Islands, far away Burkina Faso. Everything empties into the Atlantic via Bayelsa. And so I often describe our position as more delta than delta states, more rivers than river states. We have the longest coastline in Nigeria, 203 kilometers of coastline. Our total land area is about 11,000 square kilometers. That is Bayelsa. We have over 5,000 oil wells feeding Nigeria. But you know what we get? 8 LGAs. Only 8 LGAs. Whereas states that don't add anything to Nigeria are feeding fat on our world. That is the irony of our federation. But today is not to discuss this our problem, but to look at the synergy that we could create between the assured government, prosperity government and the media. So welcome to Bayelsa. For those who are coming for the first time, and I've been talking, before I came in, I was speaking with the chairman, and I told him, we are very hospitable people. Now that he has come, I'm sure he has also conquered. And if anybody looks like him after 9 months, I think we are going to look for him. We know where we'll get him. My paper is setting a media agenda for assured prosperity. It is with utmost delight I come before you, distinguished members of the pen profession, on a day like this, when the Bayelsa State Council of the Nigeria Union of Journalists are chosen to draw attention to the theme, Bayelsa Identity, the role of the media in promoting indigenous perspective. Now, this reminds me of the earliest beginning of journalism in Nigeria. Reverend Henry Townsend of the CMS in 1859 established the first newspaper in Nigeria. And it was called Iwe Irohin. That's a Yoruba thing. It was meant to educate the Egbas and the Yorubas in general. And if you look at that, that was actually an indigenous perspective. Because we were talking about the Egbas and the Yorubas at that time. Thereafter, we had other news outlets coming to define, most importantly, the African perspective and Nigerian perspective. And then came independence. You had so many papers coming. Now, what is the role of journalists in the Nigerian constitution? The role played by journalism, the profession itself. And I will quote the Nigerian constitution. The Federal Republic of Nigeria 99, as amended, brings the objective closer home, stipulating in section 4(2)b that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of governance. That is government for you. Government is to provide for the people and secure the people. That same notebook, the rule book of Nigeria, also says, and that is for the media, the press, radio, television, and other agencies of mass media shall at all times be free to uphold fundamental objectives contained in this chapter, that is chapter 2, and uphold the responsibility and accountability of the government to the people. So you clearly see that there are distinct responsibilities between the media and government. And so the whole essence of what I'm going to be speaking is how well the efforts of government have been reported. How well they've been reported. In setting the agenda, the media has every right to ask every single question, because a lot of people would get their information via the media alone. And if your activities as a government are not properly reported, then the general perspective will always be that government has not done well. The government has not done well. So what has this relationship been? And as members of government, the assured prosperity, how have we been able to engage the media in defining our own narrative? Now, in January, sometime last year, late last year, I think. Yes, late last year, we went to Akwa Ibom on a retreat. And it was in that retreat that the governor actually defined and set the ball rolling for what the Bayelsans should expect in this second term. And that was where the acronym ASSURED came from. ASSURED, A stands for Agricultural Revolution and Blue Economy. S, Sports and Youth Development. S, Security and Peace. U, Urban Renewal and Rural Development. R, Robust Healthcare Delivery. E, Energy Generation and Economic Growth. And D, Diversifying Education towards Innovation and Technology with guaranteed quality delivery. That is assured. Now, from that moment, resource allocation and other components of government would then all be geared towards achieving these objectives. And let me speak what the governor said. It was instructive that at the Uyo retreat, Governor Diri was categorical in emphasizing the imperative of collaboration and innovation in driving the assured agenda. Collaboration is expected at interministerial and interdepartmental level, at intergovernmental level, at government and civil society level, and above all, government and the mass media. Meaning that government will scrutinize and look at whether resources are allocated to meeting these objectives set out. So from that moment, the media was put to task. Are we doing what we have set out to achieve? That is what the government, the mass media, is expected to follow. At the level of MDAs and generally at governance at all levels. And as media professionals, you have the tools, you have the education, you have the training, you have the analytical skills, among other things, to monitor and comment on what government does, and to keep the public adequately informed through reporting, whether we have met those assured parameters we set out to achieve. Let me take you to what an American journalist said, and I quote him. Edwin Newman: "We in the news business help to provide the people with information they need to frame their attitude and to make, or at any rate to authorize or ratify, the decisions on which the well-being of the nation rests. That does not make us part of the system of government, but to the extent that the nation is well-informed or ill-informed, will help to make it." Meaning that whatever way you report, whether it is bad, it is good, that is the narration that will go into the media space. And that is what people will be reporting. And so, what has the media done with their assured prosperity? Now, in recent time, we have done a lot in terms of infrastructure in the States. Taking you back, first, to the urban renewal we are doing. How has the government and the mass media, the media, reported the actions of government or scrutinized the actions of government? Most times, the criticisms will only be the basis of party lines. Are we doing well? Oh, these people are not doing well. Oh, they are doing well. You see the fight along partisan lines. No. You can even set the direction government can go. We are also working on several health initiatives. How many persons have gone to the Honorable Commissioner for Health to ask him how far budgetary provisions are even being met? We are the first state in the Federation to establish a Minister of Marine and Blue Economy. What is the reason behind establishing that ministry? Now, I'll take you on that. I have not heard any government, any media outfit speak on why Bayelsa has not gotten a road to the Atlantic since the creation of the state. The most important thing we are missing now, we've missed in this state, is our inability to explore the riches of the Atlantic. With a massive coastline, 203 kilometers, where we don't have access to the wealth of the Atlantic. And so in recent time, government has been very, 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 very direct and intentional in opening frontiers. Now, I'll talk about BRAS. Why we have decided to hit the Atlantic via BRAS before any other senatorial district. If you may remember, and I hope you recall, that until we sold, Nigeria sold Ajib to Oando, BRAS was the headquarters of the swamp area operations of Ajib. And in Ajib, we for that company, Bayelsa was producing about between 55 and 60% of the total crude oil. Between 55 and 60% of the total crude oil produced by Ajip was coming from Brass, swamp area, whose headquarters is Brass. And what do we get in return as for tax? Whereas River State receives between 350 million to 400 million a month from Brass, for Ajip, Bayelsa receives between 55 and 70 million naira. Why? People would always ask question, what does the Personal Income Tax Act says? Principal place of residence. Principal place of residence means if these expatriates are not resident, they are only flying into work, they fall into the group of itinerant workers, meaning the tax component, the personal income tax, is paid to the place where they are residing. During the peak months, tax months of January, February, March, April, River State government gets between 300 and 3.5 billion a month to 4 billion. Between 3.5 to 4 billion monthly. Bayelsa State government gets between 200 million and 300 million. During the peak months of February, March, April, May, River State government gets 10 billion monthly from LNG. Bayelsa State government gets nothing. Why? Bonny do not produce crude oil. They don't even have oil well. They are only export terminal. The bulk of the liquefied natural gas that gets to Bonny is piped from Bayelsa. That is the reason why we must report correctly. Now, in hitting Brass, what do we intend to achieve? What do we intend to achieve? Is to tap into the riches of the Atlantic. Now, right now, offshore Bayelsa, there are about 70 vessels supporting the oil industry. And the reason why I'm bringing all this narration is to show why we want to hit the Atlantic Ocean and why the media is not reporting. Now, offshore Bayelsa, and I said government is very intentional in what we do in recent time. Now, in going to the Atlantic, what do we hope to achieve? Because we are spending billions of naira. And you will not appreciate if you do not understand what we want to achieve by hitting the Atlantic. Now, we have the biggest oil facilities of the Central Niger Delta. We have Agbami, Bonga, Jagba, Egina. All these are actually the biggest producing oil facilities in Nigeria. All offshore Bayelsa. And do you know where all these facilities are serviced? They are either serviced from Port Harcourt or from Warri. And I tell you the simple economics. From Bonny, from One to the faraway boy, the fastest vessel will take you 3 hours to get to the faraway boy. From Bonny, they will now sail back to Bayelsa territory to work. I'm talking about 70, close to 70 offshore Bayelsa. They sail to Bayelsa territory to work. If they don't come from Bayelsa, they come from Warri. From Warri to Ariton, to the faraway boy in Delta State. the fastest vessel will take you 7 hours to get to the Atlantic. From Bonny to the mouth of the Atlantic Ocean, from Brass to the mouth of the Atlantic Ocean is 25 minutes. Now, by simple economics, if we had developed Brass before today, all these vessels will be sailing from Brass. And what will that mean? More money to the states, more money to individuals. And that is the reason why you always see in our elections, people are always fighting. And what are we fighting for? Because everybody wants to be appointed in government. And I'm sure so many young men don't know government in River State. The same thing, Delta. You are asked to kill your brother because of an appointment of 300, 400,000, which you can hustle if we had all these facilities set up in Brass. The offshore oil facilities are serviced either with vessels or with chopper. To the faraway oil facilities in Bayelsa, offshore Bayelsa, how are they serviced? Crew change also take place from River State through Air Force Base or from Usubi in Delta. Now, let's take the other economic component now. If we are flying from Delta, from Air Force Base, to get to the farthest oil facility will take you about 1 hour, 30 minutes. The crow flies. It will take you nearly 2 hours from Delta. From Brass, it will take you less than 35 minutes. Meaning, if we develop Brass, within 35 minutes, all the offshore oil facilities have been accessed. So what will a businessman do? He will want to fly from Brass. And I'm also giving this narration because that is the reason why we are spending billions of naira in trying to get road to Brass. And I'm sure no media person has asked a question, why are we spending all this money, billions, hundreds of billions of naira in trying to get a road to Brass? Nobody. The only thing they would say is that, oh, this must be done because the governor would want to win an election. No. The governor is not contesting election any longer. But he's very intentional in hitting Brass. Now, for even having that facility for developing Brass, all the vessels in mile 4, if you go behind that jeep, there is one small creek where all vessels are moored. All of them will move over to Brass. If they move over to Brass, our people can also go and hustle. Diesel supply. And these are the things that actually drive an economy. These small ones are the ones that drive economy. And let me tell you something that will shock you. Some of those vessels that are moving from Delta and River State, some of them are going for $22,000 a day. The least one is going for $3,500 a day. And if you have in recent time gone to Bonny from Nimbe Waterside, the whole Angala has been bought over. You see small jetties coming out. For a vessel to moor in your jetty for 1 day is 250,000 naira. The equivalent of what we pay our political office holders. the media has not questioned. The media has not reported. The media has not set agenda. What we desire as a government is for every action of government to be scrutinized. Not every time we will come to the media, but when you see something, say something, ask question. The governor is not doing all this in his own community. And that is why I said we are very intentional. Sometimes when I go through documents and I read, I weep. Know why I weep? That the greatest sin as Bayelsans we have committed against ourselves is our inability to have gotten, not to have gotten road to brass at this time of our life. Is it that we don't have foresight? Is it that because there were so many accidental leaders? Or is it that the media did not do its work? It's very easy. By now, we'll have Marriott Hotel in Brass. Because that is where all crew changes would have been taking place. All young men will go and hustle diesel, food supply, everything. You would have had tank farms all along the bank from Brass to Okpoma. We'll have tank farms. We will not be having our fuel from anywhere. After all, Ogara, there are tank farms. So, we can also do similar things. But I think that got missing because activities of government all over time were not properly scrutinized. See what we have lost. What we have lost. Young men in River State don't look for political appointments because there are a lot of things to do. The same thing in Delta. They come from Asaba. Hustle until the weekend, they go and enjoy the money. That would have been the position of Brass to Bayelsa State. Thanks to Mr. President, who took over the second phase of the Brass Road, and they've already mobilized the site and are at the verge of starting. So in the next 2 years, when we hit the Atlantic, then the riches of the Atlantic will come to us. Must demand more. As a littoral state, if you look at the history of the world, America developed courtesy of the Mississippi River. Egypt, via River Nile. The early beginnings of Nigeria, River Niger. The Congo Basin, because of the Congo River. And all over the world. The best medium for bulk movement is a seaport. When we hit the Atlantic, we shall also have a functional seaport. A functional seaport will not only empower the youths, empower our people, but it is the clearest way for the fast growth of Bayelsa. And so when I sit, when we sit, when the governor sleeps, what does he think of? The missed opportunities. What we have missed out. Because we were not intentional. But now we are taking the bull by the horn. When the world couldn't access the Pacific Ocean, what did they do? They opened the Panama Canal. The sea route to India, They were passing through the West African coast, down to the Cape of Good Hope, down to East Africa, and then off to India. And then they opened the Suez Canal. Because it is still the best way of moving bulk. It is very intentional now, and that is why government is putting all this money. So it is our prayer that the media will keep asking those relevant questions and giving us the proper coverage that these investments deserve. Why we spend these billions in opening frontiers? Some just social corporate responsibility, but for a road like brass, it is with a conscious understanding that when you develop that frontier, so much of Bayelsa will follow. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of assured prosperity, the desire is very clear. Ask the questions. Ask where your money is going. Also set standards. Do this can be better. Go to the Commissioner of Health, Commissioner for Works. Why is this road bad? Call people in authority to question. I bet you, the future of Bayelsa I see. The future of Bayelsa, the governor sees in investing all these monies is one that will be very robust, the one that will be very productive, the one that will help reform our mindset. That is what the governor is doing. The media must ask every relevant question. In that way, we can collectively build a virile and robust Bayelsa. Thank you very much.
Wow, what an expose. So much has been revealed about the potentials of Bayelsa State. Well, so much has been said about the economic potentials of Bayelsa. And of course, the relevance of the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy at this time of our history. Our lecturer has done more than justice, I should say, to the topic that was handed him to speak on. And I think he deserves a much, much, much better round of applause. Perhaps some of the things he has said are things we knew before. Some perhaps we never knew about. Some even we knew, we never had the details he had just mentioned here this morning. I'm sure every journalist, every person here will leave this hall better informed about the economic potentials of Bayelsa and why we need to harness the Atlantic Ocean and its many, many, many resources and potentials. Once again, please, a round of applause for Professor Nimibofa Ayawe. Well, we'll be taking questions and answers, but just before we start, I'd like to recognize the presence here of the member representing Brass Constituency 1 in the Bayelsa State House of Assembly, Charles Daniel, PhD. Shall we please put hands together for him? I'm sure they must have recognized the others. They just gave me his name. I'm aware that we also have an honorable meeting, living, Ikirimo Constituency 2 also here with us. Let's please put hands together for him. Well, I think the floor is now open for questions. We'll do it the way we handled yesterday's session. We'll take a question each from each of the rows, starting from the row to my far right. Let's start from there. Okay, I've also just been told that one of the most innovative, one of the most experienced commissioners in the current Executive Council, who is also here, has not been introduced, and that's talking about the Commissioner for Health, Bayelsa State Professor Seifa Brisbane. Shall we please put hands together for him? Modestly dressed. If you see him on the way, you won't know that he's a commissioner loaded with so much upstairs. Look at the way he's dressed. Very simple. Please, once again, put hands together for him. Prof, you're welcome. Noah. So we now question answer session. Okay, let's take yours. Please introduce yourself. Don't do too many about preambles. Just go straight to your questions so I can run through this aspect of the program as quick as possible. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is David West. I'm the state chairman of Civil Liberties.
Tam David West.
Thank you very much, sir.
Are you Tam David West?
I say thank you very much, sir. Prof, a very sharp contrast to your presentation I have for you. You hammered so much on the media, not doing enough to report. But I also want to let you know this morning that the media is indeed doing enough to report. The problem is the commissioners and the appointees we have, with all due respect to them, are very shy. I know how many times they have called on appointees to come and speak on radio and you will not see them. How many times they have, some appointees have said, don't patronize this radio station, they are antagonistic because they speak the truth. So, Prof, in this circumstance, are you still going to lay the blame on the media or the political appointees? Thank you.
Thank you very much, West. You know, you say some people you invited refuse to speak with you. I don't know why they refuse to speak with you, but I also don't want to encourage people not to speak to media. But ultimately, not every time, I'm saying that a lot of times our issues are not reported. Does not mean that you're not reporting at all. I didn't say you're not reporting at all. But if there is any commissioner, you know, sometimes some people don't like, even me, when they come every time, not every time I want to talk. Because some people are not, I have told you that most times, oh, the only thing I hear is, you are not doing well. Have I also heard from you, you are doing well in this regard with your independent assessment? It is not always you are not doing well. Yes, some people are not talking, but on your own, you have gone out to assess what certain things that are going on. Have you also said, this one, no, you are doing well? That is lacking in most cases. I'm not saying you, but at most times, there are some outfits I read about Bayelsa every single day. And there are some persons that will never say anything good about the government. Whether the government is doing well or they are trying to do well, they will never say anything positive. But if there is anybody that is not responding to you, and that is not acceptable. But I'm also saying that I know people who, no matter what government does, will never say anything good about government. Even if you don't like the government, the sacrifices, because this money is your own, and we are spending this money on your behalf. look at it from the point of objectivity and say this particular one, government has done well, for at least for once. There are people that don't do that at all in this state. And that is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying you as an individual. But if anybody is not, go to a commissioner and is not responding, I mean, that's also very bad. It's not acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take the next question, but just before I let you do so, I'd like to quickly recognize the presence in our midst of another gentleman who has served Bayelsa State in several capacities. I started off as a special assistant, became a member of the State House of Assembly, where he served with diligence. And of course, Commissioner for Information Orientation and Strategy, and later Commissioner for Education. And currently, he is a special advisor to the Governor on Trade and Investment. I'd like us to please appreciate the presence of Honorable Jonathan Robinson of Webete, PhD. You're welcome, sir. We can take the next question now.
Thank you very much, the Secretary to the State Government, Professor Nimbo Fayowe. My name is Dr. Inibara Tompri. Prof, sir, when you are presenting your presentation, especially on the aspect of blue economy, we are so much involved because we know what blue economy represents in the history of Bayelsa. But assume that you fell asleep while you are doing your presentation. And for 29 years, God forbid, you are not in coma. You woke up and you saw what has happened to Bayelsa. What is the advice that you give to Bayelsa journalists?
Okay, we'll take another first. He will attend to your question, but let's have another one. What are the ladies? Okay, there's a lady at the back. Introduce yourself, then go to your question.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Eunice Nashi. I write for Nigerian Pilots. I listened carefully when he was making his presentations, and the questions came that the commissioners, the political appointees, they don't respond. Some of us have done well for ourselves by going to school, studying journalism. But when I came to this state, I noticed that everything about journalism is a different thing. We went for a media dialogue organized by UNICEF. We asked questions. One of the political appointees was funny enough to say, until we buy one journalist, that all of us now no go rest. And people laughed over it. But for me, I took it seriously.
Please, let's limit our questions to
I want to say
the
that
lecture,
we have been doing our work, we have been reporting, and we want to still ask questions, and nobody is responding. Maybe from today, let the political appointees start responding. That's my submission. Thank you.
Do we have any? Okay, go over there. There's a hand up at the back. Let's take that.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lishman Onisodemuya. I work with Silverbird Rhythm 94.7 FM in YENAGOA. And I work every morning interacting with listeners. So to a large extent, I also have a social media following with a question: what is the talk of the town? Every day I get to hear what the people consider to be most important to them. And I ask those questions to government. Prof, sir, today your presentation is an eye-opener to many of us. And I must say that as much as you can explain these things, most of those persons that we have had to explain their own parts have been ignorant of most of the things that you say today. It will be very, 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 very good for the government to mandate, as it were, commissioners and appointees to come on radio, for instance, because we have a large listenership. We have had darkness for so long that most people listen to radio than they would watch television. And we ask questions every day, and we are blacklisted, especially Leishman. But we'll still ask questions. That's what we do, we ask questions. To a large extent, personally, I have suffered, I've been victimized for asking questions, but we still ask questions. We only pray that the government should not be reactionary, but then they should present what they want to do so that we judge them on that. Now, when the opposition or when the media questions and they reply or refuse to reply and rather tag you, a member of the APC, or being sponsored by somebody, which I have suffered for more than 6 years, that tag, which is a wrong tag. But then, Professor Sir, I've gotten some exposure today from your presentation. It will be a pleasure to have you on radio if it's tomorrow morning also. Thank you.
Please, thank you very much. I want to appeal to us. Our questions should not take more than 1 minute at most. Please. Not more than 1 minute, please. So that others can also ask.
Okay.
Quiet, please. Let's listen.
Well,
Let's listen to him.
Secretary to the State Government, Professor Dimbo Fayawe, my dear elder brother and friend. Mine is a contribution. I believe the session is for both questions and contributions, isn't it? And in contributing, I want to speak directly to my brother and friend, who rhetorically asked the question and said to the SIG that if he was sleeping 29 years after, he wakes up and we are where we are, what will he do or say? I listened carefully while the Secretary of the State Government was contributing, and he took time to talk about the blue economy. And he went as far as telling us what we're losing as a state and why the state is intentionally doing some things in terms of connecting the state capital to brass and other communities and local government that are directly in the Atlantic. And in that, it took time to explain the benefits they are in, why if we should have this in place, what we are going to benefit. In life, it is a word that is being said that everybody knows, better late than never. And there is a saying that there is no time too appropriate for something to be done. And that is why it took time to talk about the fact that as media practitioners, you should do constructive criticism. Those were his words. The media has a role to play. Accepted, some persons do not want to speak to media, which is totally wrong and condemnable. But the fact that government has taken a step to move to a point, knowing the benefit, we should rather limit ourselves and concentrate on what do we gain after the now, moving forward. In life, you walk to a point and you say, let me do a personal history of myself. Where am I coming from? Where am I now? And where am I going? The Bayelsa State government and the people of Bayelsa State have decided to say, where are we coming from? Where are we and where are we going? And that is the essence why Bayelsa State was the first state to establish a ministry for blue economy. And not only that, taking critical decisions
that will move us to the point of harnessing the benefits in that economy itself. So my brother, while the exegy said, let us take other questions, I heard people murmuring as if he does not have what to say about it. No. The fact remains that we have moved on. When you sit at a place and dwell on your mistakes alone and the loss that you have incurred for not taking the right decisions, you will remain stagnant at that point. But when you have consciousness to say, I am moving forward, indeed, there is no time that is too late. There are benefits therein that you are going to get, taking that decision at the right time, though wrong to some persons, but every government decision, I think, is taken at the right time for the right purpose and the right reasons. Thank you, and God bless all of us.
I don't think that I actually wanted to dodge his question. I was saying that that more questions should come so that I would have taken all of them together. About there is no time to waste. What we have lost can never be gotten back. So we must all leverage on the way forward. And those are the steps we are taking now. Lishman, your own self too much. When you come to my office, I pursue you. Your own self too much. When you come to my office, I pursue you. Oh, not me. Okay, all right. Okay. Well, Lishman, that is the nature of the industry you work. And also part of I have not said government has done everything correctly. No. And government can never be correct at all times. But it's also good to look back at your industry itself. Now, everybody that can write is a journalist. That's also a problem of your industry. That's a fundamental problem your industry is suffering. Because remuneration is also very bad. Political office holders are also being blackmailed. But nobody has done that to me. In the olden days, they were writing with facts. But today, if you don't like my name, if you don't like my face, you write something. And by the time I start saying, no, this thing didn't happen, everybody has read it. Some will not even see my rebuttal. And then, if as somebody in government I want to exercise my fundamental right, oh, I am oppressing you. There's a very thin line between writing and then saying the things that are not also correct. I hope we will have a better synergy. That's my prayer. That's my hope. Because if we must achieve things together, then we must collectively work together. For those that are refusing to speak with you, I pity them. For me, I will keep talking. But you know the problem of government. When you are also in government, you know they even talk like an ordinary person when they talk for street now. Not be so. Not so. But the holder must also know when to speak and when to speak. Not shy away completely from speaking to the press. That's not acceptable. There are so many things we can achieve together. I have always said, in short, report commissioners to me that are refusing to talk. Report them. Like this man, I brought him because I thought you would ask questions on health. I said, follow me. If I don't know how to answer the technical terms, I won't know them. You should be able to answer. I'd even ask that commissioner, even when I call some commissioner, they tell me, say they travel. Shebi, you know, say they dodge me. I know, say they dodge. They tell me, say they travel. I say, where is the permanent secretary? Permanent secretary to travel. So I know, say he did. Even me, they dodge me. I say, our commissioner for this, please follow me. We are going. You may have questions. Okay, I travel. I say, what about your permanent secretary? Permanent secretary said travel, meaning there is nobody to talk for. So these things are always there. But the most important thing is, there are a lot of things we can collectively achieve together. We are a state that is in dire need of. We have to open frontiers. We can't be where we are at all. There is no way we can grow, because if any investor is coming, the first question I ask myself is, why do I want to invest in Bayelsa? Let me tell you what I did. I stopped an investment summit when I came in as Secretary to Government. They've already gone far on an investment summit. And I met the first preliminary meeting I had with the team. I said, tell me a reason why I should bring my money to Bayelsa to invest as a businessman, as against Rivers or Delta. And that if the panel is not able to give me the investment summit will be cancelled. They were not able to convince me, so I cancelled the investment summit. Those are some of the reasons we are driving for our own integrated power system in the state. That is the reason why Nigeria is suffering in terms of SMEs is because of power. There is nothing that can thrive when there is no power. None, absolutely nothing. And that is why we have become a complete consumer nation. And so if Bayelsa, being so disadvantaged, sitting in between two developed states, we must do things completely differently. Otherwise, we will keep going down. And that is the reason why we are taking these very intentional steps to opening frontiers for our people. Thank you so much.
The SSG has said a lot, and of course, one thing it kept harping on was the need for us to work together. And of course, whenever people work together and collaborate, positive things are always achieved. And in his own opinion, and I'm sure in the opinion of so many of us seated here, there's need for synergy. The journalists in the state working together with the government. If that happens, surely Bayelsa will be a better place. And investors will begin to see Bayelsa as a fertile ground for the investments to thrive. I'm sure he has taken most of the questions we asked rightly, and having concluded his presentation, let's please once again give him a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And during yesterday's session, one of our presenters, Professor Muyiwa Kpokwola, did appreciate the leadership of the NUJ in Bayelsa State, the organizing committee, and of course the membership generally for our massive participation. In fact, he was very frank when he stated that he has never seen journalists assembled in the number that we assembled yesterday to attend a program, to listen to presentations the way we did yesterday. And interestingly, yesterday's session had a total of 451 participants. Let's please put our hands together for ourselves. I want to believe that we are going to have a larger number for today. Even though we don't look as much as we looked yesterday for now, I sincerely believe before we conclude, one of our colleagues will be here to participate. Before we take the next lecture, I'd like to invite to make some few remarks at this point the member representing Brass Constituency 1 in the Bayelsa State House of Assembly. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let's please welcome to the microphone Honorable Charles Daniel, PhD. A round of applause for him, please.
The Secretary to the State Government, my respected colleague, commissioners here present, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say good afternoon to all of us. I just have a few comments to make from what I've heard this afternoon, particularly in terms of how journalists or the media community, not just politicians, to other sectors of the Bayelsa state economy. Let me just be specific. You know, journalism in the state, number one comment is that should not just be limited to a relationship between the journalist and the political class alone. I think there are so many other sectors or groups that we can as well hold accountable in this state. Like I come from an oil-producing community. Specifically, the SAG has hammered so much on brass. There are a lot of activities that are going on there. And most of these activities, just taking the oil sector, for instance, most of these activities fall short of the standard of our constitution. There are a lot of exploration going on there. The constitution is not respected in any way. And like the SAG have said, a few of us have spoken to those areas. And they are still continuing. So while we emphasize or hold government accountable for the areas we are not doing well, we should be able to extend same to the oil industry. What is actually happening in brass? What is happening in Nembe? What is happening in maybe Mogbembiri, Azuzwama, in Karemo? Let's also extend journalism to those areas. Time may fail me to mention some of these things, but a lot is going on there. And I think we have not also done enough. So I want to use this opportunity to challenge us that let's also look at those areas. Of course, as a lawmaker, when you look at the constitution vis-a-vis the operations of the banking sector here, there are a lot of sharp practices. Most times when you go to the ATM, there is no money. Of course, I've tried to raise a motion like that in the State House of Assembly. most of our ATM, these things are empty. But if you go to POS stands, they always, even if you want 1 million naira, they can give to you. But there is an amount that has been specified by the financial institutions that we should be able to get, an individual should be able to get from an ATM. But at the end of the day, the reverse is the case. You can as well go get into the banking hall, even when we know that at least, depending on the kind of account you operate, if you have a savings account, that you should be able to at least withdraw your own money of maybe 50,000 or 100,000 as the case may be in a day. When you go there, I've been in the bank, sometimes you will stand, they will tell, sir, all you can withdraw is 10,000 naira. And a lot is going on in that direction. So I think that let's not be silent even in those areas. Time will not permit me to mention every area, but I want to throw it as a challenge. While as lawmakers, we do our own parts, we should also look at those areas. And finally, I want to really commend the leadership here. You have actually done noble, and most of you have done exceptionally well. But however, there are still some, I don't know how to describe them, but I think there are still some quacks that are not actually working up to expectation. They have not really done well. You just come out sometimes from the State House of Assembly, you meet some set of people, they say they are journalists. You ask them, which this thing do you report for? Or which of the organizations do you work for? Without even asking you, interviewing you, the next thing they are doing is they are asking for money. So how are we going to take you serious? How do we take you serious? You came, we just maybe came out from a section, from a sitting. You say you want to interview me. You have not even interviewed me. The next time you say, hey, we should give money. The next time you come to me, I will not take you serious. And there are so many people that are also operating like, not just in the State Assembly complex, but in other ministries and other places. I'll completely agree with you, because I've also heard when some ministries or commissioners are invited that they have refused to speak to the press. That is actually condemnable, like so many other persons have said. But also, journalists should also conduct themselves in the best manner so that you work with integrity, because it's a very noble profession. As you expect us to respect you, also respect yourself. These are just a few comments I want to make. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Sir, actually, you cannot leave yet because you haven't done the needful, sir. You didn't talk about our newsletter. We hear everything you've said, though, and we like taking instruction, and what you've said is good, and we're going to imbibe it, but it is better after you have launched the newsletter. It will enter very well. We understand once you launch the newsletter.
All right, just 500K.
The ministry is moving forward. I am a believer of the word, the kingdom of God suffered violence, and the violent taketh it. Now so, that's why I'm from Brass. Honorable Living Meeting, I know that you think that because we're not calling you to say something, that means should we say this particular thing has passed you by. The cup will not pass you by, sir. And you cannot hide under him. He is not the Speaker of the House that you can say the Speaker has donated on behalf of the members. Sir, he is from Brass, my local government area. You are from Ekeremo. Please donate for your constituents. Give him the microphone. He's not coming up. He will speak from there.
I'm here to support this program in the first place. So getting to donate on behalf of my constituencies is part of the support that is needed for the success of this program. And because my senior colleague here is a ranking member.
No, you cannot go below, sir. You can when it comes to allowances, ranking members are not known for when it comes to allowances.
In our business, ranking members are very, very known, and so you must not act beyond what a ranking member has done. On that note, I will support the digest with 100,000.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable Buebete, sir, I know that you make contribution, but you can greet the house again, sir. Thank you.
Please, a round of applause for him now.
Well, I know I came here intentionally to be part of this. Just like the Secretary of the State Government said, and I'm here, and if people are doing something, there's every reason why I should participate. You know, I'm a former lawmaker. I left the assembly 2015, isn't it? 2015. Yeah. And I'm privileged to have my colleagues here. So since the speaker is not here, who would have billed all of us? And Ekeremo has gone for 100,000 naira. At least let me represent my people to outside the assembly and say I'm doing 100,000 naira.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. And you know, I believe in gender equality. I don't like that it is only the men that are speaking. I don't want the woman seated here in front to feel bad that we're not involving her in this matter. Ma, we apologize if we made you feel that you are not important in it. No, ma, be offended, ma, please. Please be offended, ma. Can you please hand over the microphone to Madam Binawari? Thank you, ma. We want to give you a sense of belonging, ma. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. I want to say that as a gender activist myself,
yes, ma.
I acknowledge and appreciate the recognition. But really, we are all one and equal in the presence of God. I am essentially a public servant.
Yeah.
But I want to pledge support personal, not on behalf of my commission now, of 100,000 naira.
Thank you. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you so much, ma. You see now, while we are all equal, at least there is a female voice in the house. Thank you. I'm dropping the microphone now. After that, they'll beat me. Please give them the newsletters. Give them the newsletters, please.
Thank you very much.
They are entitled to some copies.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please, you can give a copy each to all our guests on the front row. I know that they will all do something later, even quietly. We are not forcing all of us to announce what we are giving. Just have the newsletter and quietly launch it. Thank you very much. We'll now be moving on to the next lecture, which is titled Telling the Bayelsa Story in Contemporary Media by Professor Barclays Ayakromo. And I'm told he's here ably represented by Dr. Tam Gordon Azobo. Shall we please put hands together for him? He's an associate professor of theater and cultural administration. Quickly take the brief citation of our presenter. Professor Barclays Fabry Ayakromo has a BA honors, MA and PhD degrees from the University of Calabar, Ibadan, and Port Harcourt, respectively, specializing in directing, broadcast management, and film studies. A former staff of River State Television, RSTV, Channel 22 UHF, Port Harcourt, 1986 to 1992. He was lecturer at the Department of Theatre Arts, University of Port Harcourt, between 1992 and 2000, before being appointed Executive Director of Bayelsa State Council for Arts and Culture, where he served between 2000 and 2009. He was again called for higher service as Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the National Institute for Cultural Orientation, NICO, Abuja, in the Federal Capital Territory, where he served 2 terms of 4 years, 2009 and 2017. Professor Barclays Fabri Ayakromo, as he is fondly called, BFA, has to his credit over 75 published articles in local and international journals, as well as chapters in books. He has also authored, edited, and co-edited 23 books and published 13 plays, including Dance on His Grave and A Matter of Honor, which have been recommended texts in Bayelsa's secondary school syllabus for literature and English for about 2 decades now. One of his books, Trends in Nollywood, a study of selected genes, is considered the most authoritative work on the contemporary film industry, popularly called Nollywood. A fellow of the Society of Nigerian Theatre Artists, SONTA, SONTA, National Association of the Nigerian Theatre Arts Practitioners, NANTAP, Film Educators Guild of Nigeria, FFEGON, and Institute of Management Consultants, IMC, Nigeria. Professor BFA is also a member of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR, Nigerian Institute of Management, NIM, Association of Nigerian Authors, ANA, ANA, and Nollywood's Directors Guild of Nigeria, DGN. He is a former editor, Nigerian Theatre Journal, NTG, a journal of Society of Nigerian Theatre Artists, SONT, SONTA. A mentor to several theatre, film, and cultural studies scholars and practitioners, Professor BFA is a UNESCO cultural expert and has astute film management, leadership, and public speaking skills. Apart from carrying out professional assessments, he has supervised and examined several theses and dissertations at the Nasarawa State University, Kefi, University of Calabar, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Akwa Ibom State University, Niger Delta University, Wilberforce Island, and National Open University of Nigeria, NOUN. Others include University of Port Harcourt, Federal University, Oye Ekiti, University of Ilorin, University of Abuja, and Imo State University, Owerri. As professor, BFA was coordinator, postgraduate studies program, Department of Theatre and Cultural Studies, as well as the Institute of Strategic and Development Communications, Nasarawa State University, Kefi, between 2017 and 2019, before moving over to University of Africa, Tororua, Bayelsa State, where he was head, Department of Theatre Arts, between 2019 and 2022, before being appointed a Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic, in 2022. He was also acting Vice Chancellor, University of Africa, Tororua, from September 2023 to April 2024, before his reappointment as Deputy Vice Chancellor for a second tenure. Professor BFA is married to Mrs. Letty Ayakromo Ni Rexobuku, a broadcast administrator, and the marriage is blessed with children. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our presenter, Professor Barclays Ayakromo, who of course will be speaking on the topic, telling the Bayelsa story in contemporary media, and is here represented by Associate Professor Azobo. Let's please put hands together for him.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As you know, I'm going to speak on behalf of my boss. Meanwhile, I'm happy to be here today because when I came in, my boss then, Mr. Sheriff, in the newsroom, said it was like a homecoming for me because if you look at the program here, the chairman and secretary of the organizing committee were employed as information officers the same day with me here in the Ministry of Information. So really, it's like a homecoming to me. So I'm happy to recognize here today. Thank you for that. Now I go to the paper now. Media, culture, and identity. Telling the Bayelsa story in contemporary media. The discourse is in the domain of mass communication, which is the process of imparting and exchanging information through mass media to large populations. It therefore entails understanding the concept of culture, which is totality of the way of life of a people, which distinguishes them from other people. This topic encapsulates identity, which refers to the distinct characteristics that define or determine who a person is or a thing is. Drawing from the foregoing, this presentation will contextualize the nexus between media, culture, and identity, and how they could invaluably foster the development of Bayelsa State. Now let me try to tell you, paper is quite academic and quite long, but I've tried to make it shorter and then bring it closer to our purpose. Now, what is media? The media is about communication. And communication is the process of conveying thoughts, ideas, facts, feelings, and so on. This implies that communication is a very vital instrument in human existence because without that, there will be confusion. For example, even in the house that you stay, if you don't communicate properly, there will be crisis between the husband and wife. There will be crisis between the father and children. It's between the mother and whatever it is. So, communication is key in our development, especially in Bayelsa State. Now, in contemporary media, which refers to technologies that disseminate information to a mass audience, it also includes our Android phones to the expansive landscapes of internet, the modern communication highway. Media permeates every aspect of our lives, shaping our perception of the world around us and influencing the very foundation of our cultural background and personal identities. Now, what is the function of the media? The media performs several functions, which includes to inform, to educate, to entertain, transmit culture, and socialize. Now, if all that is what the media should do, it also means that the media is a watchdog to society. But now, how is the media going about this activity? If you have been labeled as a watchdog of society, how are you going about the work? So that's one question to be answered by us together. Now, what is culture? Culture drives tourism. What is culture? You know, in those days when you go to the village square to watch a performance, masquerade performance, you are suspended from church for having been involved in pagan worship. Was that not true? Was that true? Now, culture is something that is the way of life of a people, the way we do our things, the way we cook our food, the way we build our houses, the way we know ourselves. That is what culture entails. Let me even deviate. I have been told that the Old Testament of the Bible is largely based on Hebrew culture. And now, if you look at some of those things, they look at the things that we have here in the Jaw culture. And I'll say two things. One, in that aspect, people married more than one wife in the Bible, in the Old Testament. And the Jaw man too is known for that. True? No response. Also in the Bible, the wife of a deceased could be given to a family member, at that time, which was also part of our culture in the distant past. So these are cultural things that if you say them now, they will argue with you, but they are things that existed and some of them are still there. So culture is the way a people do their things. And now, how does culture drive tourism? In fact, the Zon culture, the Etibo or Woko, the Ugri dance, the paddle and canoe, fishing, swimming, and so on are cultural identifiers that differentiate the John man from the Yoruba man, or the Hausa man, or the Igbo man, as the case may be. Now, identity now. The relationship between media and identity is particularly complex. Media plays a crucial role in the process of identity formation, providing individuals with information, role models, and cultural narratives that shape their individuals and understanding them the world over. Through exposure of media, individuals learn about social norms, cultural values, and expectations of their social groups. They observe how each other or each people behave, how they aspire to, and how they are perceived by society. Now, there's a small tutorial framework paper carries. The paper is hinged on agenda setting, which is a powerful tool in communication. The postulation of agenda setting theory is that the mass media influences what the public thinks is important. It does not emphasize what the various publics should think, but rather what to think about. This suggests that the media, through its selection and emphasis of certain issues, shapes the audience perception of reality. This underscores the sociological concept of status conferral. For example, if you're important, you feature in the media. And if you feature in the media, you are important. By repeating, covering certain issues, the media makes them more prominent in the public space. For example, in recent times, the face-off between Senator Odwanga and the Senate President has been covered by the media in such a way that wherever you go, people talk about it. And that has been given credence or emphasis by the media. Also, the problem between Minister Wike of FCT and the governor of Rivers State is also gaining a lot of prominence in the media. So all that is done by the media. If not for the media, this matters wouldn't even be here. So we know that the media is doing so much to bring information down to the people. And recently again, some members of the Legislative Assembly have declined from PDP to the APC. All that is given prominence by the media. Now, the nexus between the media, culture, and identity. The media plays a vital role in promoting good governance in any group, community, local government, or country, and acting as a watchdog. How well is our media carrying out this function of watchdog? Now, challenges militating against the media. 1, undue influence. 2, misinformation and propaganda. 3, economic pressure. 4, political pressure. 5, psychophancy. The author of this paper said he suffered the same fate when he was the staff of RS TV, especially psychophancy. 6, political blackmails. 7, selfishness. 8, undue pressures from constituents. 9, unprofessional use of the media. And 10, challenge of social media and fake news. Prof has also asked me to mention that he hopes the current chairman of the NUJ, Comrade Tony Ademoleya, will soon experience some or all of these things that militate against the media, if already not seen them now. Chairman says to be directed to you that if it comes to you, you know that there are normal things that will come your way in the course of carrying out your functions as the chairman of NUJ. So you should take note of that, please. Now, about Bayelsa State. The state history has been given to us here by the documentary. And from there, even the SSG has told us so much about the state and its developmental agenda. So I will not go there again. But all the same, there are essentials in telling the Bayelsa story in contemporary media. 1, identify the target audience and the purpose of such media communication. Don't want to go explain them. I think they are quite easy to comprehend. 2, craft compelling narratives that showcase Bayelsans. 3, choose appropriate media channels, taking into consideration the audience media consumption habits. It could be online, radio, television, print, film, or the social media. 4, prioritize authentic voices and perspectives. This entails collaborating with Bayelsa indigenes like local journalists, opinion leaders, and community development committee leaders to ensure authenticity and accuracy of your information. 5, address key issues and challenges like environmental degradation, poverty, and developments in the political arena. 6, tell stories in the sense that captivate photographs, videos, and graphics. 7, ensure accuracy and transparency by verifying all information before publication or broadcast. 8, engage with the various publics for creating platforms to dialogue in order to effectively address disparate questions and answers. 9, focus on community impacts by oil spillage and the attendant environmental degradation around such host communities. Number 10, showcase the rich and diverse cultural heritage of the Bayelsa people. This is through traditions, music, dance, art, and so on, as well as entrepreneurship, local businesses, and initiatives to promote economic growth. Now, the way forward. If you are telling a story, there must be people to read, listen, or watch your story. Basic to the foregoing is electricity supply. Many Bayelsans are victims of the arbitrary Shylock bidding system in Nigeria's public sector, even when they do not see light. Today, many institutions in media and media houses in Nigeria are developing hunchbacks. Figuratively speaking, because of the absurd electricity tariffs, several businesses have closed down because of the challenge of running on standby generators. This is also the case in Bayelsa State, where some special institutions ration power supply on campus, thereby leading to loss of man-hour and reduced productivity. Bayelsa State has so much water, as we know that, but you'll be surprised to see that There used to be a Ministry of Utilities. Now we have Ministry of Water Resources. Additionally, we have the Water Board, and that does not reticulate water for residents in YENAGOA metropolis. Despite all this, we all know that the government has done so much. The SIG spoke so much here very passionately about spending billions of naira to brass to get more money for the states. Also about power too, we are all aware the government is working towards installing a functional gas turbine that would, in the nearest future, alleviate the sufferings of the people through electricity. Now, navigating the cultural tourism routes for brand Bayelsa, the question is, what are the unique things that could be of interest to our tourists in Bayelsa states? Can someone tell us any of such things? Even if we cannot really identify them, we can create something out of nothing, or we can create something around something. This brings us to salient aspect of this paper, which will be expatiated here. There used to be a beer festival taking place annually in Munich, in Germany. Beer festival, beer, to drink beer, which lasts for 2 weeks. To drink beer festival, 2 weeks. In Germany, festival. Now, it is also a festival that features beer drinking, carnival procession, and traditional Bavarian music. We also have witnessed the annual Corn Festival in Indiana, USA. The festival features carnivals, parades, food vendors, live entertainment, and corn eating contests. Still on cultural tourism, we know that we have our KKFI known as KKF. What have we done about? Perhaps it's important to note that if we are able to develop or come up with certain ideas about our KKF, our yellow soup, and others, we can, bring certain things together as tourism for people to come and watch and enjoy and pay money. Now, conclusion. So far, we have examined how the nexus between media, culture, and identity will be propitious to the task of telling the Bayelsa story. In so doing, the paper was hinged predominantly on the agenda-setting theory. The fact is that the media conditions the various publics to pay attention to issues the media deems fit. This implies that once there are government policies and programs, they are seen to be in the good interest of the people. It does pay off on the media to give such the necessary attention. Izon is truth, and truth cannot hide. However, the way forward is for government to create a benevolent environment for the media to objectively tell the Bayelsa story. There has to be a collaboration to enlighten and campaign so that the media can achieve its purpose and agenda. Conclusively, it has to be reiterated that for us to tell the Bayelsa story in the media consciously and then in an appreciable way, there should be no latitude for quacks to operate. They have to be flushed out. Now, to the Comrade Tonye Yemolia-led Executive Council of NUJ Bayelsa States, they say the road to success is not straight. There is a curve called failure. There is a loop called confusion. Speed bumps called friends. Caution lights called family. And you will have flats called jobs. But if you have a spare called determination, an engine called perseverance, insurance called faith, and a driver called God, you will make it to a place called success. Thank you very much for your attention to me.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Even though you stood in for Barclays Ayakromo, I want to appreciate the passion with which you've done your presentation. Let's please put hands together for him. So without further ado, we go straight on to take questions and answers. And we are going to skip the panel discussion that was earlier planned after his presentation. That has been shelved for now. So we'll now go on to the question and answer session, after which, of course, we'll be taking a break and come back at 5 o'clock for the dinner. The dinner is now going to be holding at 5 o'clock, no longer 7 o'clock as was previously planned. So the floor is open. You do the simple thing, indicate by raising your hand, and once the microphone gets to you, properly introduce yourself, your name, and of course, go straight to your question. Yes?
My name is Tristan Akbo. And the presentation, I think in this age and time, when we gather in this kind of fora, the organizers have provided a screen. They also have the technical support here. And I think for a presentation like this to be well accommodated, well understood, well comprehended, and for us to digest and interrogate it properly, I think a presentation like this would have been presented with an e-copy, or better still, it would have been done like what was done yesterday in the brochure, or alternatively, e-copies would have been sent around. So that while the presentation is going on, we can also follow and then know how to interrogate the presentation after it has been done. But as it stands, I was trying to take notes and I couldn't even hear properly. All what I heard was the way forward, and I was looking to hear the way forward. I would have gone to Port Harcourt because of this presentation when I heard it's going to be Professor Barclays Ayakromo. And then the topic says, telling the Bayelsa story in contemporary media. Sir, my first point was an observation. Now, my second point is a question. Telling the Bayelsa story in contemporary media. I still haven't gotten the grasp of what the peg of this presentation was. Could you please let us know what the peg is? Thank you.
Although it's not my paper, but I will try. When I was sent this paper, I didn't have anybody to reach out to. But when I got here, I was told that the paper I sent. I asked whether it was done in a PowerPoint. They said no. That is the way it was sent. That's the way they have it published. And I was happy that it was published. As soon as I was given this, I saw that it was not even published here. The paper is about 17 pages. So try to make it not too academic. I was able to extract a few things to save time and also to say something. But I'm sure the committee has a copy of the full paper, and I'm also surprised that they didn't publish it and they didn't do PowerPoint presentation setting. But then I've heard you. I may not say much, but I will relay it to him. Anytime you meet with him, you can discuss on some of those things. Thank you, sir.
More questions, please. Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Ayosande Monitor, a serving corps member, serving with the editorial board CDS group of NYSC Bayelsa State. I would really share the sentiment of the person who asked earlier. I was actually having a lot of expectations for this particular topic. I mean, this particular paper presentation. But this is my question. It's to you, and I think also sources. So my question is still how to synergize professional journalism and contemporary voices. There are a lot of people currently in the media space, and of course, I believe this is also a media summit. There are a lot of people currently in the media space who really don't have the thorough upbringing of journalism, as it were, but they have large followership. I mean, they have the larger audience, if you would permit me to say. And again, as a build-up, you've also talked about promoting indigenous narrative and all of that, and the Bayelsa State story, actually. I believe there is the Bayelsa narration, the story that has been peddled by Nigerians, and this is what is largely believed by Nigerians. I'm coming from far southwest. We have a perspective of what the South-South looks like. And this is because of the stories that has been told to us. But the sad thing is that most of these stories have not been told by Bayelsans themselves. So I believe there's the Bayelsa narration and there is the Bayelsan narrative. So I would like that, like I said, this is a question not just to you, but also to the organizing committee of this program. So how best can we address this? Of course, putting in mind that there should be a synergy between professional journalism and contemporary voices. Thank you.
All right. The committee, are you here? The thing is that the paper has so much, there's so much of this. It has so much. But I had to skip some things because we had seen a documentary of Bayelsa State. We had heard what SSG talked about Bayelsa State. So if I have to repeat those again, we'll be sleeping here. But all the same, I want to invite the organizing committee to come and help me to answer this since they are the originators of the whole program. Can you come around? Anybody there? Chairman? Okay. All right.
The national president, dignitaries, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, everyone. I share so much in what you just said. This morning, I went to have my hair cut. While I was in the barbering salon, somebody walked in. The young man, the barber, was addressed as Calabar man. And he said, no, he's not from Calabar, he's from Akwa Ibom. The person who came in insisted that you are all the same. And now I went into the conversation. And I said, if the man is saying this is who he is, why are you insisting that he must be who you want him to be? The conversation was going on and I kept quiet. You just reminded me when I was in Abeokuta, Ogun State. For people who are in the southwest, which I mentioned, all of us here are Omoibo. Why should it be so? Yesterday while I was talking, I said, are we being underreported in Bayelsa State? These are critical questions for us as media professionals. And some of the take-home that we are going to get from this summit, we are going to sit over them, look at them critically, and the best ways to approach them. This is just the beginning of greater things to come for the NUJ in Bayelsa State. And by the grace of God, we will leverage on whatever outcomes that we will take from here. And even in the media industry, for example, somebody was asking, when the SIG was talking that, look, why don't you come to the radio? We should sit down and begin to ask ourselves, is it about the individual media organizations or the body of the profession? You are inviting the SIG to come on your radio program in an NUJ program. Is it about the medium or the professionalism that we are trying to protect and project? So these are critical questions that when we get back home, we will all sit down and begin to ask ourselves and see how we can answer them, reach out to institutions where we need a stronger collaboration and begin to move forward so that your institution as NUJ, your profession as journalism will be so respected. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Comrade Tonye Yemoleya. I'm sure with those remarks, I'm afraid we might be bringing this I don't know, do we still take more questions? Okay, all right. We'll take two. We'll take two. You take the next one, then we close. Hello.
I've traveled around the country, and you know, when you get to some states, when you get to some zone, they will ask you, Bayelsa, I thought that you are from water. I thought everybody, we are living below sea level, there is no land, militancy at the peak of it, there is poverty everywhere, everybody is living on inside fuel and crude oil on a surface of water. And if you are posted to Bayelsa, you see parents doing prayer and fasting that their children should be transferred from Bayelsa. That's the real narrative before now. All of us to go back and change that narrative softly. That when I came to Bayelsa, what I see was different. I think Mr. President too has come to Bayelsa severally, and he has seen a different narrative. That we are also hospitable above everything. We are also very industrious. Our women, beyond showcasing everything, they are also industrious. So it is right for you to now go back and tell that story. How well have you been able to narrate that story to the public? You have not. So we all are culpable. That is the essence of this summit, for us to come together. Where do we go from here? I think the honors lies back on our fingers. Thank you.
Thank you for those beautiful comments. We'll now be taking the very last.
Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity again. I didn't intend responding, but I'm worried. My name is David West. Telling the Bayelsa story. I am always been invited to do newspaper review with a particular radio station in the mornings. And each time I leave there, I make one comment. Is it that the local papers, even the state-owned newspaper corporation, don't you people have stories to tell that can also be presented in the newspaper reviews? Hardly. So how do you now tell the Bayelsa story outside?
Hello, 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 hello,
Hello, hello. Comrade, just summarize, please.
So, in essence, hardly, I've not heard where they will pick somebody to be a commissioner for health who is not a medical practitioner, or an attorney general or commissioner for justice who is not a lawyer by profession. Why is it that in the media profession they just pick anybody around the road, go and be commissioner for information, and when they come, because they are neophyte, they create problems for you people? Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. And that should be the very last of the remarks for this session. I want to thank everybody for coming and, of course, participating. Well, I've been prompted that we have one of our parents I've just been told that we have the state chairman of the Trade Union Congress, TUC, in the house. Laye Julius, PhD, would like to make a brief comment before we close.
Yeah, thank you.
If you don't mind, can you come up stage so that everybody can see you, please? Please, a round of applause. Laye Julius, PhD, the indefatigable, working, diligent, productive, people-friendly, result-oriented chairman of the Trade Union Congress, Bayelsa State.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to commend NUJ for organizing this program. And the topic itself for me is very apt. I am somebody who is always disturbed and sometimes get hungry when I see political appointees and elected from Bayelsa State going to Abuja and putting on Hausa cap and agbada. You are not telling our story culturally. By your wares, each time I go, I will choose the best. If not Etibo, Walker, or Don. Well, the moment they see me, they shout, "Good luck, Jonathan." But you will be surprised that our wear is becoming the wear of the Niger Delta. The Queries have taken it. Even in Delta State, the Isoko, everybody with this cap, if you look at the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, throughout his stay in Abuja, you hardly see him putting on suit. He was telling our story. Interestingly, it was during his time as a governor of Bayelsa State that he made it mandatory that all civil servants in the state on Friday must put on the traditional wear. Now, how many of us in this hall, let me say, who are civil servants, today is Friday, are appearing in the traditional wear? Except a minister from the northwest comes or a governor, and the governor in government house puts him on our traditional wear, you will see all of them that will come. They are telling their stories by their dressing. Once you see them come, you just know that this is an Hausa man, even if you don't know the state. You know that this is a Yoruba man. You know that this is maybe an Igbo man. If you look at the national level now, you discover that two of the former governors, which is the Senate president and the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, are the only ministers that are always on Tinubu cap. You hardly see any of the northern ministers putting on that cap. And that tells that we maybe what is eye service or inferiority complex. But I want to urge us, outside the language that is totally going on in extinction, totally, because you will see a Yoruba man who is a graduate, but the first thing when you are interacting with him, he will speak Yoruba, until you tell him that you are not from the West. We have gone there to work. Over here, even if we are discussing, an outsider must hear because we cannot use our language. So I commend NUJ and I urge all of us to start telling our story outside the state when we go out. Be an Ijaw man. Thank you and God bless.
Well, again, emphasizing the fact that we all have roles to play in telling the Bayelsa story and by extension the Niger Delta story. And after all, we are blessed with the most beautiful women in Nigeria, aren't we? Our women are the most beautiful in Nigeria, and some of our cuisines are also the best. Our women are good cooks. They cook good food. So all those are means by which we can tell our story, so that people begin to know. Because if you go far up north, some persons used to tell me that they still regard all of us in the Niger Delta as Igbos. They still refer to us as Yamini. So we still have a lot to do for people to really know that we are different from the Igbos. They are brothers, no doubt, but we are not the same. So we will bring this session to a close, but I also want to inform us that any moment from now, the communique drafting committee will be ready with the communique and they will read it to all of us. So I will advise that we stay back to listen to the communique and know what is there. If it represents our views, our collective views, if it represents all that have been discussed during this summit, then the dinner in the evening, which we had already scheduled for 7 o'clock, has been moved to 5 o'clock. 5 p.m. this evening is a dinner, which of course will bring this entire program to its climax. 5 o'clock is the time. No Africa man time. 5 o'clock is 5 o'clock. We'll be starting the dinner program of this summit. At this point, I'd like to yield the floor to Kofi Black, if he's still around. If Kofi is still around, okay, you can mount your keyboard and give us some tunes while we wait. And for those of us who would want to have photographs with the national president and other national officers, you're also free to do so. I'd like to humbly request the national president to perhaps relocate his sitting position up here so that those who would wish to have photographs with him can come up here and have their group pictures with him. Because this is an opportunity we perhaps may not have again soonest, to have the national president spend days here with us. And of course, the deputy national president, Comrade Oyetunde Abimbola, is also joining him. We also have the zonal vice chairman and other zonal officers. So please, if you're interested,
Let it flow everywhere. the rivers flow. So let there be peace in our heart, peace in our home, peace in the nation of the world. Oh, peace in our heart, peace in our home, peace in the nation of the world. Everywhere around us, nothing but war. People dying in this famine everywhere. Why don't we come together, love one another, so the world can be full? So let us be peace in our heart, peace in our home, peace in the nation of the world. Oh, Bayelsa, peace in our heart, peace in our home, peace in the nation of the world. Oh, Bayelsa, peace in our heart, peace in our home, in the nation of the world. We are the people of Bayelsa. Peace is sweeping. Let it flow everywhere. We are the people of Bayelsa. Peace is sweeping. So the world can be as one. So let there be peace in our heart, peace in our home, peace in the nation of the world. Oh, peace in our heart, peace in our home, peace in the nation of the world.